Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Chrissy. And because I've gotten feedback that we all sound alike, I will let everyone else introduce themselves.
Dang.
Hi, Colleen's here.
Dang, I didn't know we all sounded alike, but this is Sherry. Wow.
And I'm the mom. I guess I'm responsible for all that.
Yes.
Mom, I guess you sound differently, but apparently I got feedback from a listener that we all sounded alike. But
Well, I'll work on my
makes it
southern
more-
accent then, and we can sound different then.
I am not
Yeah.
working on a New
Yeah.
England. I'm not working on a New England accent.
Colleen,
Sorry.
you need to work on your New England.
I pack the card.
Go to the bar and pay $1 for chowder. And I'll just say, "Oh, bless your heart."
I'm going to Dunkin's. Dunkin's, man.
Tom Brady. Oh, can't say
well, Sharon,
Tom Brady anymore.
And Sherry, I know you had a work trip out to the West Coast.
I
You
did.
want to talk about any experiences at the Coronado?
No, I didn't stay. I was on Coronado Island, but I didn't stay at the Dell. I got out there Monday and kind of walked around, like, really my first time on Coronado Island. I've been to San Diego before a few times, but first time on Coronado Island, and really nice place if anybody's ever there to visit. But cool thing is, I mean, it's right by this big old Navy base, and they were doing all kinds of things. I mean, one night I was laying in bed and I could have swore there was a big old helicopter landing on my patio. Like, it was the loudest. It was shaking the room. It was so loud, and they had helicopters going by all the time, but this one was different. I was like, it lasted for minutes. I'm like, where is this thing coming from? I mean, is somebody going to be like parachuting into my patio door right now? Because it was so loud. But no, super cool. I mean, some of my coworkers went to the Coronado and from the Dell, but it was Coronado Island is a really cool place to go. And
So we've stayed at the Dell. But yeah, it is really cool. It's really fun and interesting. I know I've told you guys the story, but when we stayed at the Dell, there was really no paranormal activity that I experienced. But one of the attendees at the conference was having breakfast. We all had breakfast together. You know, I didn't know him. And we were all chatting about, oh, yeah, it's haunted. And he said, yeah, that he and his friends were all making fun of the fact that it was haunted. And he swore that he put his room key right next to his bedside table that night. Next morning, couldn't find it. I think he said it was finally like in the bottom of his suitcase. And he's like, I know I did not put my room key in the bottom of the suitcase. So unless the ghosts were messing with him or he had a really rough night.
well,
I don't
where
know,
did he go beforehand? Because, you know, there's
right. Yeah. Coronado Brewing. Did you go there? That's really nice place too.
We went there and we were going to eat and it was too crowded. So we ended up not going there, but yeah, it was
really good beer. Yeah, really good beer. That's one of my favorites. So anyway, well, good. Glad you had fun and had a good time.
No, it was super fun. Yeah, it was a good trip. It was a lot. Like my body clock was completely off. I mean, I was up at 3-4 in the morning every morning. So I think the whole week I slept probably about 15 hours.
Well, I'm excited to get into the story this week and introduce this week's guest. And I have to say, this is actually a consequence of what we hoped would happen. So our guest today is Hannah, and Hannah is the sister of my husband's coworker's husband. Woo.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, we figured that out. So as more people are listening and more everyone, like we said, everyone has a story. And we're hoping to dig out and find some of these interesting stories. And I'm excited too, because I have not really heard anything about the story except kind of the background context. So I'm super excited to hear what Hannah has to say and the stories that she has to tell us. So Hannah, I'll let you
But
take
before
it
you
away.
get into that, I say that's almost like a Ferris Bueller-esque. Like, my sister's brother-in-law's cousin sister saw Ferris, and like it totally passed out at 31 Flavors last night. I mean, did anybody else get that vibe? Like, I think that's what just
Thank
happened.
you, Simone.
No, I mean, that's what I feel like. No one? Okay, cool. Cool.
All right, with that intro, go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, so I am Hannah, and like Chrissy said, I am the sister-in-law of her husband Greg's coworker.
And she saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night.
Yes. And a couple weeks ago, my sister-in-law asked if I would be interested in sharing some of my stories about a building I just recently purchased in Ephrata. I came across a building one day, and it's been there forever. 1908 is when it was built, so almost forever. I don't know why I had never noticed it, or I guess I just never took notice to it. It's a rock building, so it's a building that's built out of like rock and mortar or rock and concrete, whatever it's built with. And it's just a very unique building in Ephrata. It's the only, well, I guess there's 2 rock buildings now, but it's just a very unique building. It's across from the post office in town. And so I saw it, and I was like, that looks vacant. And I think it's been vacant because I can't remember the last time a business has been in it. So, and got a hold of the owner finally and asked if they were willing to sell the building. And the gal was an older gal and super sweet and said, no, I'm not interested in selling it. I would like to rent it out again. And I said, okay. I said, well, I would really like to purchase a building instead of rent a building. So if you change your mind, keep my number and get a hold of me. And 4 days later, she got a hold of me. Long story short, came to an agreement in April of 2022. So the first or second day after closing the transaction, we went into the building, and it was used as an office space immediately prior. So there was like mini blinds on all the windows. So all the blinds are... Go ahead.
Hannah, not to interrupt, but so is it a single standing building, or is it connected to other buildings? Or can you describe it a little bit?
It's a single standing building, and it's, like I said, it's all rock, kind of like the rounded rock. And it kind of has not a barn style roof, but a very unique shaped roof. And then there has been like an addition to it. And so once you look at the picture, you can tell what the original single part of it was, and then like where the addition is or whatever. So anyways, back to the first part of the story is we go in, and we made a point to close all of the blinds in the building because we don't want anybody to peek in, and see what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. And so we go around and we close all the blinds, and kind of just, we're giddy and go through and, okay, this is awesome. So we lock the building up and we head out for the day, and then we go back the next day. And we go in, and I'm like, why are all the blinds open again? And I like look at Logan, and I'm like, we closed all these blinds. Like, how are they open again? And he's like, that's weird. And so I'm like, okay, we're closing the blinds again, like telling him we're closing the blinds again. So we close all the blinds and we leave, do our stuff, what we're going to do there. We leave. The next day we come back. All but one of the blinds is open again. And I'm like, okay, that's just really weird. Either these blinds have really bad mechanisms, or I just felt a little like weird about it. And side note, I've never been one that I don't necessarily disbelieve in ghosts or spirits or anything like that. I've just never had a personal experience to really like even raise the question of them. Have I heard of them? Have I heard stories? Yes, but I've just never had a personal experience. So I never believed or disbelieved in ghosts. So that first happening was just kind of like, that was really strange.
And that you said they're mini blinds, right? So you need to pull the string.
You need to pull the string. They're like older, like the metal, the nasty ones that get all dirty that you have to clean.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that you have to twist the whatchamacallit. The wand, yes.
It's, it would take some effort to pull them open. Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So the building was built in 1908, and there's been kind of some discrepancy on whether that is the true year that it was built, because there's historical pictures that have like postcards on them from 1902. So it could be as early as 1902, but everything that I've seen is 1908. And to put into perspective how long ago 1908 was, not that it doesn't sound like it was forever ago, but this place had a hitching rail where people can hitch their horses up to, because it was a horse and buggy type town. Over the years, it had been many, many different businesses, and not even just businesses, but even like a church at some point. And a lot of this information I was able to get just by making a post on the lovely Facebook, knowing that there had to be more stories to tell about this place. It's an old building, so I just wanted to know more about it. I'm sure the walls have seen thousands of people and stories and all that. So it was so fun. I had 197 people respond to my post on Facebook with stories of like what they remember about this place. It started, like I said, as a realty place. And then the next thing that people remember was like a worship center. I don't know if that technically classifies as a church at that point or not. The Rock Tavern was definitely mentioned a lot. I thought that's kind of a cool name, being as that it's a rock building. The Rock Tavern sounds like a pretty wild, kind of rough and tumble kind of place from the stories that were told. There was one story that somebody shared.
I said, sounds good.
Sounds like a great place. I think during these years, Ephrata was pretty booming, and construction workers would often frequent the place. And one story that somebody on Facebook had shared was that there was a big, tall, can I say Indian lady that would come in and get drunk, and she would take off all of her clothes, and she'd cause this huge ruckus, and it would do this like multiple times. And then when the cops would come, she would like try to beat them up. And so like a couple different people like remember that story. And I know. So I'm like, I want to know who this Indian woman is. Exactly. Yeah. So kind of ironic. So like I said, it's a salon now, and we have a very large demographic of clients. It's so crazy because we have a client whose dad actually owned the Rock Tavern for, I think, like 6 to 7 years. And this client now is 96 years old. And she was like 12 years old when he owned this. And she can remember very small snippets of the place. It was so funny because when we had told her, hey, we heard this story of this Indian lady that would come in and get drunk, she spattled off her name like that, like knew exactly who we were talking about. So it's like, obviously this woman made an impression if this, then 12-year-old girl remembers her name when she's 90 something years old.
Sounds like quite an impression, I would think.
Yes. And then shortly after, I believe it became a place called Irene's Candy Kitchen. And from what stories were told was that she had the best cinnamon rolls, pecan rolls. She made like homemade fudge, homemade rock candy, all sorts of like deliciousness that I still wish she would be making as I was in there.
So that had to be an awkward night when the transition happened, when they came back. It's the candy kitchen,
Indian
and
lady.
then she took all of her. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not this kind of establishment anymore.
Go away. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but amidst the comments, one that stood out immediately to me was a guy, and somebody responds, and it says, in the basement on the back wall, there's a large hole in the wall that has been cemented shut. It used to be an underground tunnel for a speakeasy across the street. So I immediately I respond, "Shut up." Really? Question mark. And obviously I didn't want him to shut up. I wanted him to tell me more. So immediately I had to go in the basement and find what he was talking about. Now, when I say basement, so this basement is everything in your worst basement nightmares. Like, it is danky. You open the door and it smells like mold and just bad. Yeah. And there's cobwebs, like it's wooden stairs over old concrete stairs. And of course the stairwell light is burnt out for effect. And so you have to walk down the stairs dark. And then at the bottom of the stairs, looks like a little Hobbit door. Like it's a small door that you can open. And behind that door is a dirt crawl space. And you can, and the dirt crawl space is probably like 2 feet wide. So my cinnamon roll loving butt doesn't fit between the crawl space very well, nor am I going to crawl in there anyways. But I have other people that really love doing that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what Jennifer said. She said her kids won't go down there either, right?
Yeah, no, they are chickens.
They're little. Just send them in.
Yeah. No. Jones doesn't even celebrate Halloween. He won't even go trick-or-treating. There's no way her kids.
I would send Kane down there and he would go down there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would love
Send
that.
his little butt down there. My son would go immediately.
So anyways, Logan, of course, is nominated, even though he's 6'3" and not skinny mini either. He gets to go in the dirt basement. And he goes back there and he shines his light. And sure enough, like you can see this kind of archway of where this opening would have been, but it has been concreted shut. So I'm like, I think this person is like telling the truth. They're not just being funny. So, and then upon talking to other business owners, I think I've actually figured out where the tunnel goes, because her business, she has a bistro in town. Her business also has an opening that is still open, that has a concrete like lid that she can take off and on. And she's had one person that was willing to explore in there. But the only thing that I know about the tunnels was that there is actually a couple different tunnel systems in Ephrata, and they were built mainly for when I believe President Nixon visited Ephrata. And they wanted to be able to transport him without, I guess, public notice or whatever through.
They put him through a Hobbit door?
Guess. I don't know. This is all like hearsay, but I'm like, I'm here for it. Like, I'll listen to anything.
Can we all picture that? Like shoving Nixon through a Hobbit door? Yeah, it's fine.
Just go in.
right
It'll be
through.
okay.
Like, you'll come out on the other side.
Well, and I know that FDR came to Ephrata too, because when the Grand Coulee Dam was being built. So I wonder too, but he was like paralyzed too. So I don't think they could have gotten him through the Hobbit door either.
Get out of your wheelchair. We'll just, put you on some kind of little levee, like a skateboard, and we'll just
shove you in there. It'll be good. It's all normal. It's okay. So
totally makes sense.
So anyways, just very intriguing that there's these, tunnels that I get the privilege of owning the building in. And I'm like, holy cow. And then I get the notification that there's another comment on my thread. And at the time, it just made me laugh because people are funny on Facebook. But now looking back, it really makes me wonder. But the comment was from a man named John. And it said, "Don't ever break up the floor. The bodies down there are numerous." And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, you're just trying to freak me out. Like, whatever, being a funny. But now, after the experiences that I'll kind of explain to you that I've had there, I'm just like, should I reach out to him and see if he has any more information? Or should I go get a jackhammer and start jackhammering the basement and see what I find? Or what?
Mhm. Both.
Yeah, both. Let's do both.
Yeah, let's do both.
Let it lie.
Yeah. No. Let's rip that shit up.
Exactly.
Let's see
I know. I don't know what I want to do. So,
Yeah.
anyways, that's a brief, quick history of what I know about the building. Back on to kind of the things that have happened since we closed the transaction and had the freakiest mini blinds of ever. So, like I said, we kind of moved in to start working end of April, beginning of May. And then from May until August, we were doing renovations and upgrades. And one day, Logan goes down into the basement, and the basement has been kind of upgraded, if you will, in that there's lights. There's 2 different light switches downstairs, and there's kind of 2 little rooms from that Hobbit door. There's one on your right of the stairs and one to your left. So you have to go down the stairs, like I said, in the dark to get down to those light switches to turn the lights on. And Logan was down there one day, had the light on, and he's a real big ghost hunter fan of, TV series and stuff. And so he was videoing with his friend Dave and was, giving him the lowdown, like, hey, this place is haunted, I think, and we've had some weird stuff happening. And so Logan shuts the light off and comes back upstairs, gets off the phone with Dave, and then we go to leave. And I open the basement door and the light's back on. And I'm like, did you left the light on down there? And he's like, no, I didn't. And I said, yes, you did. I was like, the light's on. Can you go shut it off? And he's like, I swear to God, I was on the phone with Dave and I shut the light off. I know I shut the light off. Dave was on the phone with me. He can tell you I shut the light off. So he goes down there and he shuts the light off. The next day we come back and I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to look down in the basement to see if that light's on. And so I opened the basement door and that freaking light was on. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, now I'm really starting to get the sense that, like, we're not the only ones here. Like, there's somebody's doing something. The whole light in the basement has actually happened several more times. There was a time that a relative of mine came and I was kind of filling her in on all the happenings. And I said, I'll go show you the basement. Let's go see the basement. And I open the door and the damn light is on again. And I'm like, the light just freaks me out. So anyways, there was another day. Logan was there by himself. He was working on some plumbing, and there's a back kitchen area, and he had set his wrench by the kitchen sink. And he goes kind of out towards to where the reception area is now. And all of a sudden here's a crash. And he's like, what the heck was that? And so he goes back into the kitchen and his wrench is in the sink. And he's like, that was like a solid foot away from the sink. There's no way that wrench just fell into the sink. So it was literally moved, like, thrown into the sink. And he's like, I'm leaving. He's like, I'm not staying here today. So he left. And then nothing else really that stood out had kind of really happened while we were kind of renovating. But then we got everything finished and we moved in, I think, the last week of August of 2022 and opened for business, which was awesome. It was great to have everything done. And when I designed the salon or whatever, next to each of our stations, I had put these little like V-hook things that you can slide your blow dryer into so they can just kind of set on the wall. And I just recently got kind of a newer blow dryer. It was really lightweight or whatever. And so it was hanging on the wall. I had blow dried my client's hair and I was flat ironing her hair and just kind of chit-chatting away. And all of a sudden my blow dryer on the wall by itself turns on. And then it was on for like 3 seconds and then it shut off. Kind of looked at my client. My client's kind of looking at me like, that was weird. And like most blow dryers, you have to like push the, power button up and turn it down, push it down to turn it off. The button hadn't moved, but the blow dryer was on and then shut off. So that was really weird. And then shortly after that, There's 4 of us hairstylists there, and we all work Monday through Thursday, but then only one of us works on Friday, and her name is Kiffin. And so Thursday, we leave. Everything's normal. We have our brooms that sit by they're called IVACs. They're just the little vacuum thing that you can sweep hair up to and it sucks it up. And our brooms are kind of next to those. And Kiffin came in on Friday, and my broom was like 10 feet away from my station, like on the floor. And then her broom that she keeps actually tucked behind the IVAC was laying on the floor over by the shampoo bowls, also like 10 feet from her station. So she sent me a picture of the brooms and she says, "Does our ghost like cleaning or something? ? And I was like, they must like playing. I don't know. So it's just all these things are starting to add up. And I have another coworker, Kim, that I've kind of told things to and like have said, I think we've got to have spirits or something here. There's more going on here. And she just laughs at me like, "Oh, you're so silly. That, ghosts don't exist, blah, blah, blah." And Kiffin, on the other hand, is a strong believer in spirits, and she's had her own experiences. And she's like, "I am 100% with you. I feel like there's something going on here." She's like, "I just get the feeling there's definitely more here than what we can see." So one day I walk in, I don't have any clients yet. It's first thing in the morning. I'm standing over by the shampoo bowls, putting towels away. And all of a sudden I get a really strong like scent of cinnamon rolls. And I'm like, "Oh man, it smells really good right now. Like I really want a cinnamon roll." And I was like, "But why am I smelling cinnamon rolls?" I'm like, "There is no cinnamon rolls here. So what smells like cinnamon rolls?" And then just like that, like it was gone. I was like, that was really strange, just kind of kept it in the back of my mind. So I'm going about my day. And then I have a client later and she's like, "Oh, hey, did you know today's National Cinnamon Roll Day?" And I'm like, hold the train. What? And I didn't tell her anything about like the cinnamon rolls that I had smelled earlier. But then I thought back and I was like, this place used to be known for their cinnamon rolls. And the fact that I smelled cinnamon rolls and it's a National Cinnamon Roll Day, I was like, I don't think that's just coincidence. It just can't be. So like that was kind of the first time that I'd ever like experienced something besides stuff moving or lights turning on. Like that was something sensory. And I was like, I don't know how else you could explain that. So one of the last things that I can kind of explain, and it was kind of the icing on the cake and the topper of all stories and so this particular day, I was shampooing a client and Kim had a client, an older woman, and she was blow drying her hair. And as she was blow drying, the client was saying, "I have really fond memories of this place. This is the first place that my now late husband and I had our first date back when it was, I think, Irene's Candy Kitchen." And so she was kind of reminiscing and Kim kind of giggles and she's like, "Oh yeah, Hannah thinks it's haunted," and kind of laughs. And just then there was this voice that said hello. And I will try to impersonate it, but I can't get my voice low enough to impersonate it because it was like the lowest pitch of voice I've ever heard. But so right as her client said, or right as Kim said, "Oh yeah, Hannah thinks this place is haunted," this voice says, "Hello,"
Oh, no.
like in that kind of manner. And I'm like, I stopped like scrubbing my client's head and I shut the water off. And Kim shut her blow dryer off. So I knew right then that she had heard it too. And she kind of peeks around. We have this like brick old chimney that is kind of like right in our line of view from the front door. She peeks around and she's like, "Is somebody here?" And I said, "Why?" She goes, "I swear I just heard a man." And I said, "You heard that?" And she said, "Yeah." And my client, my poor, sweet little freshman and high school client, her eyes were as big as golf balls. And she said, "I heard that." And then Kim is like, "Kiffin, did you hear that?" And Kiffin is back doing lash extensions in another room. And she's like, "Nothing. What did I hear? I didn't hear anything." So it was only us in this little certain area that heard this deep man's voice say, "Hello." And Kim is like getting teary eyed because she's like, she's not a believer. And she's like, I believe you now. She's like, I don't want there to be spirits here. I have to work by myself sometimes. But it was at that moment that it was like, I really think there is somebody here. And like I said, I've never had anything personally that would make me believe in that kind of stuff. But I'm a firm believer now that there is, spirits or just not us existing in this universe. So ironically, Kim's client that she was working on, the one who had the late husband, she said, I have a granddaughter who is a medium in California. She goes, and she's coming up in October. Do you want her to come and visit? And I said, well, sure. Why not at this point? Like, what's it going to hurt? And what is she going to find? Like, let's find out. So time goes by. She comes in and she's everything that you envision a medium to be. I don't know if that's stereotypical, but super nice. She comes in and she's kind of just taking everything in. And I kind of give her the tour of the salon upstairs. And then I said, are you ready to go to the basement? And she said, let's do it. And so we get to the basement door and we open the door and she kind of pauses. And I'm in the front because I want to go down to turn the lights on for her. And I can tell that she's just kind of uncomfortable in a way. And so I get to the bottom of the stairs and she's still at the top. And I turn the lights on and then she's kind of talking to herself a little bit as she's coming down the stairs. And then she gets down there and I can tell that she's kind of breathing a little bit faster and, taking deeper breaths. And she's like, there's definitely a presence down here. There's definitely stuff that has gone on down here. And I don't know much about like saging places and that kind of stuff, but she had sage with her and started kind of saging the basement and was saying stuff as she was doing it. And then kind of comes back over to where we were standing and she's just kind of describing, she said, there's been a lot that's gone on down here and there's a lot of energies down here. She really couldn't like particularly tell me anything and take all this with a grain of salt or whatever. But the door to where the tunnel is, she refused to open it. And I said, oh, do you want to, and I hadn't told her about the tunnels yet at this point. I said, oh, do you want to open? I go to open the door. She's like, don't open that. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, there's a lot of negative energy behind that wall. And I don't want you to open that. And she said, there's been a lot that has gone on behind those walls. And she's like, do you know anything about the building or anything like that? And I said, the only thing that I know is that there's underground tunnels and that during Prohibition or whatever, they would use them to like go to the speakeasy and stuff. She goes, I don't think that's all that they use them for. She said, she's like, I'm getting like senses of like transactions and like trafficking of some, like she was just feeling lots and lots of stuff. So she refused to open that door. And I had told her, I said, everything that's happened upstairs, I said, has never been anything negative. I've never been scared. I've never been, it's kind of fun in a way, when, I don't know, kind of playful. She goes, upstairs is very peaceful and everything. There's nothing negative up there. She said, but down here, there's a lot of strong, like negative energy. I didn't know what to do with that information. Nothing, I haven't done anything with that information. But before this, when all of the little things that were happening, stuff was moving and stuff, I had put a security camera inside the salon that would kind of capture the whole length of the salon. And because it's motion sensor. So I wanted it to pick up something while we were gone if something had moved. And since I put that camera up, nothing has happened. Nothing at all. We haven't come into anything weird. We haven't, anything. So I'm like, should I take that down? Because I kind of miss like oh, what are we going to find today after the weekend or whatever. But nothing has happened since then. So I'm not sure what to think of that. Maybe they're camera shy. Maybe, I don't know.
Did the medium sage though? Did she sage when she came in too, or no?
She just saged the basement, but not the upstairs.
Maybe move the camera to the basement.
So I don't know if internally I'm like battling, like, do I really want to put it in the basement? Do I really want to know? Or, because yeah.
Heck yeah, you do. Yeah, you want to put it in the basement?
Yes. Even just to see like when the light actually turns on, because I can not guarantee, but I can probably go to work tomorrow and I'm sure the light's going to be on, even though when I checked, last week that it was off. It was off.
So that still happens. The light still turns on and off every weekend.
It does. The light still turns on and off. Yes.
So the lady that you bought the place from. So I want to go back to that for a second. So she didn't want to sell it right away. I mean, have you had contact with her since? Like, does she have any history of the place, or why didn't she want to sell it in the first place? And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, let's do this. And then, I mean, I just feel like there's got to be something a little bit there. Like, she wasn't completely ignorant to the fact that there's some things going on there.
The person that I bought it from was actually the wife of the land surveyor that owned it. And they ended up getting a divorce. And in the divorce, she got the building. Her daughter was the property manager, I guess. Her daughter was the one that I think kind of convinced her, I think you really do need to sell the building because I'm tired of, taking care of everything. And I did end up texting the daughter and I did ask her, I said, by chance, has anyone ever mentioned any like ghosts or any like weird circumstances or anything at the building? And she said, not that I know of, but I'll definitely ask her stepdad, who would be the land surveyor. And I've never heard back from her just because I haven't had time to catch up with her. But I would be very interested to have even the land surveyor come in just to talk to him to see if he had anything happen in the 15 years that he had the building. Because there has to be.
Mm-hmm. There has to be. I mean, yeah, everything that, I mean, even the candy shop, I mean, it seems like there has to be some, and I'm surprised that the medium didn't reveal more, more specifics, because, if you're smelling cinnamon, but yet that was, and I forget what year you said that wasn't even the beginning of the building. So if all of these things happened, whatever happened in the basement, the prohibition, trafficking, whatever went on down there, I feel like that, predates the candy shop. So I feel like there's more going on. Like there's more to the story, that whatever it happened, and maybe it's over a series of incidents. Maybe it's not just one. Maybe something happened back in the day and then something happened again. And, I'd like to learn more about this guy that said, let's fire up and bulldoze the basement and see what we find down there, because I don't know. It just seems like there's more to it. And the fact that the Hobbit door and the cemented wall, but there's still an opening on the other side. So is the opening on the other side experiencing crazy stuff too? Because if that is the case, like, that's open. This one's shut, and she didn't want to go in it. So I think there's more we can uncover.
The owner of that bistro that I was talking about, she also refuses to go in her basement because she's had several experiences similar in that. So she uses it as storage, but she makes her husband go down to get what she needs because she's too scared to go down there by herself.
And it might be interesting to learn what the bistro used to be. Like, what did the bistro used to be? I mean, we know that it was a fancy bar with some strip teases in the middle of it. But what was it like? What connected the two? There had to be some kind of history between the two buildings to make that. And are there any others, or is it just those two that have that connection?
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, anytime there's thousands of people, it's a 120-year-old building, you're just going to have like all that residual energy and all those experiences. And I read more about Ephrata, and I had no idea that, I mean, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the Indian tribes that were originally settled there, but they said one of the early English translations for the name of the town was Indian Graves. So they did bury their dead there because there's a lot of natural springs there. And so that alone, I was like, oh, there it is. There's just that energy that could be.
It's that Indian woman.
Town.
That she knows her roots.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that the town itself just has a lot of hotbed
Nice.
of energy. I mean, you think about, there's a lot of rivers and water.
I just want to know what that guy, who said that there's a lot of bodies. I mean, okay, so the building was built back in the early 1900s. Before that, was that kind of an Indian burial ground or whatever? I mean, that I feel like that wouldn't, I mean, maybe that's what he's referring to, but at the same time, it's like, okay, was there something and before they poured the cement? Like, did they know that this is what we're pouring it over? And if that was the case, I feel like just saging it isn't going to do anything. I feel like they're going to need more than that than to just sage it and be done with it. You're going to need somebody from that tribe to come in and cleanse
Like
it
a
and
shaman.
say, a shaman, exactly. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah, it'd be interesting to get more history on what was happening during Prohibition. Was there, if there was any kind of trafficking happening or other illegal activities where people might have gotten killed and buried in that.
Well, that's the
basement.
Shanghai tunnels there in Seattle, right? Or they-
Yeah, that's San Francisco. That was like Chinatown in San Francisco where they would knock them out. Yeah. They'd take them down the tunnels. They'd wake up on a boat and they were forced into labor. Yeah. No, I don't think that was going on in Ephrata, but who knows?
Oh. I don't know what they did with these guys, but so it's hard to say what went back in those days. Like you said, speakeasies, somebody get in an argument, get shot, and it's like, what do we do with the body? So yeah, just put them in the face.
well, and it's like, I wonder, okay, so if there's a tunnel for like, does the basement setup, does it say speakeasy to you? I mean, is it like, how big are we talking? Like, I feel maybe it was more of just a stopgap, okay, we're going to transport things, but it's going to go someplace else. Or how big is the basement?
So the basement is, I guess, almost the size of the building, but the part that the tunnel is in is what I would consider a crawl space. It's a dirt floor where the tunnel is at. You can tell that there is more dirt there now than was when it was original, because half of that archway is like buried at this point. I don't know why that is. Like, why would there be more dirt down there now? I don't know.
Mhm.
But
It's interesting.
it would take a lot of effort right now, and you'd get really dirty if you were going to go access that tunnel to go to a bar or whatever. If it was set up now how it was then, that would take a lot of effort to get there. Yes.
Yeah. So I just wonder, what it was all used for. I mean, we say, okay, it was used during Prohibition, and we automatically assume it was to transport alcohol, but maybe it wasn't.
Right.
And maybe it was used to transport something else if there wasn't any other evidence in the basement or in the building itself that any of that kind of stuff was going on. Maybe between your place and the bistro's place, that there was just a completely different type of activity going on.
So are you tempted, Hannah? Yeah. Are you tempted, Hannah, to put a camera
I know,
downstairs?
strange, right? I think I'm going to.
I think that would be cool. I think it would be
Yes.
cool.
I'll keep you updated.
If you do, let us know. And yeah, if I'm ever going through Ephrata
Well,
again.
she needs to stop and get her hair done.
You need to stop and see it. Yes, for sure.
You could go for a massage.
That's right. Yes, for sure.
Nails.
Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you,
Awesome
Hannah.
story.
Again, I know I love the variety. This was definitely a unique one, and I love the confirmation from the medium and
the history. I mean, I feel like there's more that we can unpack there and see what.
I feel like there's a lot more history that we don't know about, and I would love to learn about it. I'm just not sure what avenues to explore to learn about the history. I think the only way to know is, I guess, by, maybe the public library or whatever, because at this point, almost all of the stories that people can tell are just of more, from 60s and more recent.
Or that guy that talked about bodies being under there. Let's see what he has to say.
I know. I'm really tempted to kind of reach out to him and be like, hey, do you remember when you commented? What did you mean?
Please.
Yeah, let's hear more about
that. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It was
Yes,
awesome.
thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember, again, if you have a story like Hannah to share, please email us at notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. And for now, take it away, Mom.
Thank you for listening. And remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.